about 18 months ago, I got a message off a friend of mine who lives in America, and he was like, you should get this guy on your show. And he sent me a link to it was a story where someone had asked you, oh, you do a podcast? And you replied and said, I'll do any podcast, no matter how big or how small, don't care. I just ask or whatever. So then I was like, right, okay, like who is he? Or, like I kind of started delving in a bit. Then I was like, okay, yeah, he's pretty funny. Like I like that. So I sent I think your email was in the story or something. It was like, send an email to this email address. I sent an email, and I think I got a reply saying like, absolutely no problem. May 2022. And I was like, that's a typo. Like, I was like, that has to be a mistake. I was like, May 22nd. I was like, no, that can't make sense. Like that's too vague. So it must be, fuck, he's that busy. And I replied to the email being like, cool. Do you mean like the year 2022? Is that what you mean? And yeah, May 2022. I was like, fuck, okay. Like I honestly did not think that anybody would ever be that busy, but I was like, cool, mark me down for it. And then I got an email like, I'd say about maybe we were meant to do this originally about like 3 weeks ago. And I was having a shit show with trying to sleep train one of my kids and toilet train the other one. And we rescheduled, but originally I got an email saying like, just to confirm Jordan on whatever date. And I was like, the fuck is this about? And it was like, oh fuck, I forgot about that. So definitely the longest booking I've ever had for a show. So
I love
thankfully
it.
I
Yeah,
forgot about it because
I'm
I
looking at
probably would
the
have been
email thread
nervous.
right now. It's so funny. You wrote, holy crap, May 2022. I don't even know if I'll still be doing this by then.
I was like, this must be a mistake. Yeah, that was pretty
That's
funny.
funny.
So you actually you have a baby due as well, right?
Yeah, in August, exactly.
Wow, and that's your first?
Yeah. Do you have one on the way?
Oh no, I have two. I have not two
Oh,
on the way.
nice.
I have had two. Well, my wife has had two. I've been present
Congrats,
for
man. That's
conception and
amazing.
birth. Yeah, no, it's great. We've an 8-month-old and a 2 and a bit-year-old. It's fucking amazing. Like I was actually thinking about it today because it's interesting when I start thinking about like, God, I wonder what he's feeling now. Like, and then I start thinking like, what did I feel at that point? And it's funny because I'm sure you're probably getting a lot of this, especially when you have as many followers as you do. I'm sure you get like, like helpful advice or like, like that kind of stuff. And I mean, fucking brace yourself, I'd say, when the baby actually arrives. But it's so good. It's so amazing. Like like it is really fucking frustrating at times. It's really hard at times. It's really shit at times. But like it's and I remember before we had kids saying like I'd be down with my sister and her kids would be crying and stuff, and I'd be like, fucking hell, like, how do you put up with this? But, I was in a different stage of my life then. I just didn't get it. And they were like, oh, no, it's different when it's yours. And I was like, fuck that. It's not different when I couldn't give a fuck whose it is. I'm not listening to that. But it is so true. As soon as my daughter could do something awful, and like she rarely does, but she could do something, and within 5 seconds, if she goes like, hi, I'd be like, everything's fine. I don't give a shit. Burn the house down. Who cares? Yeah, no, it is amazing. I'm really excited for you. It's fantastic. You got married recently as well, didn't you?
Yeah, I got married in August. Yeah, exactly. Yep.
Wow, that's cool. So a year married and first kid on the way. That's exciting.
Exactly. Yeah.
Was it Greece you got married in?
Yes. Yep. We got in
Oh,
Santorini.
and what? Because that's a bit of a trek. What brought that on? Was that like?
Yeah.
Does that count as eloping? Was it planned? Was there family there as well?
No, it's just us. So we
Oh
eloped. It was
wow.
just us two, and we knew that we wanted to elope. Um, we knew that's what we wanted to do. We knew it was right for us. We didn't want a big wedding. We didn't want family there. We just wanted it to be us. And so because of that, because we didn't have a big wedding, we had a little bit more money that we could spend on going somewhere that we really wanted to go. So we decided why not go to Santorini? We've never been. It was fucking amazing. It was incredible. I mean, everyone needs something different, right? So like, there's nothing wrong with having big weddings and lots of family there. Like I love that. And I've gone to many of them and for us, that wasn't right. Like we wanted to have our own thing. So, I mean, we had like a 10-day vacation and wedding in Santorini. and it was a fraction of the cost of most big weddings. So like it was great. We really enjoyed it.
And how are you feeling now with so you've got like a summer ahead of you and then parent. So how's
Yeah,
that sitting with you?
man, I'm so excited. I'm very lucky and blessed because um for many reasons, for more than I could talk about here, but for most of my life, I knew I always wanted kids, but I didn't know when. And I didn't know like when I would feel comfortable and confident enough to bring a child into this world. And I think within the last year or so is finally when I was like, I feel ready. Like I feel ready. I
Mm.
feel stable enough. I feel confident enough, comfortable in my relationship enough. Like everything like felt good with my job, my work-life balance, all of that. I was like, I'm ready to bring a child into this world. So feel very blessed with that. And then, also like we're so blessed because literally the first time we tried, like we conceived, like, and there was no, like,
Yeah.
fortunately there hasn't been any issues yet. So I know some people struggle with that and
Mm.
some people can never even have children. So just overall, like so happy and fortunate and blessed.
Yeah, no, it's amazing. It is amazing. We were the same. Not first time. I don't have that kind of accuracy, but it was it was within like it was in a short window, and we were just talking about that a few weeks ago, where we were like, God, it's actually such a relief that you don't have to go through any of that stuff like that. Before you even start the journey, it's stressful. Like that. It's just
Yeah.
you can just breeze through that bit. Yeah, no, it's a big relief. It's over in like 6 seconds, depending on who you are. um, you do a lot of podcasts. So before you came on here, you were on another one. If you
Yes.
search your name on Spotify or on on iTunes or whatever any app, you just come up. Like you can scroll through all your episodes of your own show and other shows. Um, why why are you so generous with your time with stuff like that? Like why are you? Because I kind of think people in your position, I'd expect them to be like, yeah, yeah, I'll do any show. And then after a while, I'd be like, fuck, why did I say that? Yeah, okay, maybe ask and I'll be picky and, like cherry pick who I go on. How come you're so giving?
So there's a lot of reasons for that. Number one is I would not be where I am today if it wasn't for other people being incredibly giving and generous with their time. And I always like to try and pay it forward. Another reason is because I love talking. Like, are you in Ireland right now?
Yeah, yeah.
Where in Ireland? Are you in Waterford?
No, God, that's very specific. I don't know why I found that jarring that you knew the name of a place. People usually just go whereabouts, and then like they
Are
lose
you
interest
from
when I start
Waterford?
talking. No, my sister like owns a house in Waterford, all right, but and my brother-in-law and his family live in Waterford, so it's very random that you said there. No, I'm in Mullingar. I'm in like if you picture the map of Ireland and dropped a dart in the very center, that would be
Yeah,
where we are.
got it.
Yeah.
Okay, okay.
What's the connection to Waterford?
So I have a very close friend of mine from Waterford, and his accent sounds like almost identical to yours. So I was like, oh, I wonder if he's from there as well, because you hear different Irish accents depending on where you're from in
Yeah.
Ireland.
Yeah, I
Um,
consider mine flat. I've kind of a nothing. Like I've
yeah,
just an Irish accent. It's not. There's no like if other Irish people heard me talk, I don't think they'd be like, "Oh, he's definitely from here." Like whereas
yeah,
there are
yeah,
there are accents which is like, "Oh, he's fucking definitely from Dublin," or "Oh, he's definitely from
yeah.
Limerick," or whatever. That's interesting.
So yeah, so very fortunate to have other people. So I try and pay it forward. I love to talk with people. Like this is my favorite type of content. The fact that I can be in Texas, you be in Ireland, and we can have a conversation without ever having met before. Like I love that. I just think it's
Yeah, it's
super
good.
fun. No two podcasts are ever the same. I, I enjoy making YouTube videos and Instagram posts, but it's it's just me. It's just me behind the camera, and I like to actually have, like, legitimate conversations. Like, so for me, the fact that this can be part of my job, like, I love that. So I'll do it all the time. So yeah, I mean, that's pretty much it.
Because it's something I wanted to talk to you about is actually so you do have those kind of different avenues of you you are incredibly active on Instagram as far as like a lot of people say, oh, I'm quite active, but like you literally your stories are tic tacs at the top of the page like every day. And then you do YouTube, you do your own podcast, you do other podcasts, you've written, you do blogs, you like is that like is that you trying to make sure that you hit all potential uh, types of consumer, or is it you like making sure that, well, if the arse falls out of one of these types of media, I need to make sure that I have other platforms that I can be reached at, or is it just like you enjoy doing each of them differently?
I would say a little bit of all of that. So I started off with written articles on my website in 2011. So I started with that, and that's actually when I met my buddy from Waterford, by the way, in 2011. When I was writing those articles, we were roommates together.
That's funny.
So I started doing that in July of 2011, just doing written articles, and I did on Facebook. I posted on Facebook as well. So as my Facebook written articles, and I would post videos on YouTube. And I did that for like 3 years, and then I switched to email marketing. And then in email marketing, I learned about the importance of having so many different platforms, because if all the platforms, like you get deplatformed, a platform goes to shit, whatever it is. I don't want to build my house on someone else's lawn. So having an email list was super important for me. And then I went to Instagram, and then I really focused more on YouTube. And now, like, I'm all over the place now. I'm not in every place now. Like, I'm not actively writing articles anymore, and I'm not really actively doing many emails at this point, and I'm not actively doing YouTube very much right now. Right now, my main places are Instagram and podcast, and essentially at this point, I'm all over the place, and I could go wherever I want to. I could go to YouTube, I could go podcast, I could go Instagram, I could go email list, I could go Facebook, I could go anywhere because of everything I've done over the last 10, 11 years in my career. And if you look, it seems like I'm everywhere, but I'm not actively everywhere.
Mm.
I have that opportunity. So for now, I just do whichever one I enjoy the most, which is podcast and Instagram. Those are currently my two favorites.
Mm. With Instagram, then, like I mentioned, that you're active on it and you share a lot, and you know, like you were sharing that you were in Greece, and you were sharing that, you know, you guys are pregnant, and, you know, all that kind of stuff. And then obviously the flip side of that is that it opens you up to like replies to those, which I'm sure by and large, whatever 300,000 plus followers, I'm sure by and large they're positive, but you're always going to have that, even if it's not intentionally someone being an asshole, you'll have someone being an asshole.
Every day.
It Yeah, and like it's funny with yours, especially because you've excellent you've like memed yourself several times of
Yeah.
you have these like recurring pictures or recurring videos in reaction to like either stupid questions, boring questions, or like thinly veiled insults or whatever. Um, is it like, did you decide when you were doing it, did you kind of slip into just gradually you shared and then we're just kind of like, oh, I guess I'm just talk I know obviously you don't talk about absolutely everything, but like a point came where you were like, well, I mean, I've told everyone about my fiance or like girlfriend and fiance and wife or whatever. I've told everyone this. I've told, like, I'm just comfortable sharing it all. Or have there been times where you've been like, fuck, maybe I should have held back that piece of information, or maybe I shouldn't have, like, is that stupid telling everyone that piece? Have you ever had those kind of moments?
I've had moments where I'm like, should I say this or not, like before I post something? I don't think I've ever had something where I've posted it and then regretted it. I don't think I've ever done that. I'm usually pretty thoughtful with like, should I post this? Should I not post this? There have been plenty of times where I film something and then I'm like, you know what? I'm not going to post that. Like there have been plenty of times where I do that. But almost all the time people are very appreciative when I do post something that in my head, I'm like, I don't know if I should. Now, there's always some people who are angry and upset. And I could literally be like, I really like oranges. And someone's going to be like, you're such a piece of shit. Like, so you're saying mangoes are bad for you? Like, no, I'm just saying I really like oranges. Oh, okay. So strawberries are basically poison. I'm like, what the fuck are you talking about? Like, there's always going to be someone who's doing that. But it's they're the vocal minority.
Yeah.
The vast majority of people are very appreciative when I even share my personal opinions or personal life. And it just got to a point with my social media that it started to make sense to share a little bit more about myself and my life, because I mean, number one, you can only share so much educational content without ever saying anything about yourself.
Hmm.
Inherently, by having a larger audience, people are going to be a little bit more interested in you and want to know more about you. But most importantly, it's one thing. I really learned this with the Big Mac challenge when I ate one Big Mac a day every day for 30 days. Um, I think that's really when I started to share more about myself, because it's one thing to tell people what the science says. It's one thing to share about the research and to educate people. It's another thing to actually show them that you're living it. It's something like to show them what your life looks like and say, like, this is what I do. So to show my meals, to show it being prepared, to show like going on vacation and not worrying about exercise, like to actually show that I'm living it. I'm not just talking about it, but I'm doing it. It hits on a deeper level, on a more relatable level. And I think it helps solidify the foundation of education that I've built as like, hey, he's not just talking about this and then he's not lying and then doing something else on the back end. Like, he's talking about it and he's living it as well.
Yeah. Sorry, halfway through that, I just remembered your progress pictures where you kept putting random shit down your pants. um, one of the
Because
things
people
that's
were mad about the outline of my penis. I was like, all right, we'll play with this then.
one of the things that has come up a lot. Maybe I'm just, I don't know. You know, when you're buying a new car and you pick the car you want, and then all you see is that car everywhere. Maybe that's
Yeah.
like what's happening
Yeah.
here. But I started noticing a while ago that like you get a lot of questions about being Jewish. But
Oh, yeah.
anytime you put up those like question boxes, and then I was like, in like when I see the questions you post, it's a shit ton of questions that you get about. Why do you think that people ask you so much about it? It's not like it's a new religion.
Definitely not new. Definitely not new. It's funny. So many people, they've never met someone Jewish. They don't know anything about being Jewish. They have no idea. Um, and I think people know that, especially people who followed me for a while, that if someone asks a genuine question, I'm going to give a genuine answer.
Yeah.
And I'm also never going to be offended. This is, I think, probably the biggest thing. A lot of people nowadays, dude, I get worried if I ask someone who's clearly not from the United States. I now get worried, hey, where are you from? Because apparently that's a fucking microaggression and like it's racist. If I, hey, where are you from? Like, and I'll still ask anyway because like I'm interested in where they're from and I want to get to know them better. But I think in this day and age, people are so worried about offending people because anyone can say they're offended and then get really mad and try and cancel you or say you're a bigot or racist or anti-Semitic, whatever it is. And I've made it very clear. I was like, you can ask any question you want and I will not be offended. Like any question you have, so I give people an opportunity. Like if you don't know anything about being Jewish, if you don't know anything about like something you'd like to know about that maybe I do know, I'm more than happy to answer and I will not take offense to it. So I think people are like, okay, cool. Like I've wondered this, but I've been afraid to ask. So I'll ask because I know he's not going to be upset about it. So for me, I think that's one of the most important things I've been able to do is just let people know any question you have, you can ask. I'm not gonna be offended. If it's a stupid question, I'll post it and like I'll like tease you because that's what I do with my friends. I treat everybody like they're my friend. It's like if you and I are hanging out, like I'll make fun of you and you'll make fun of me, and like that's what we do. Like that's good rapport. So I'll do that with people on social media as well. And like a small amount of people get offended by it, but fuck them, whatever.
No, yeah, I think that's a good way to live it, like because yeah, I think I agree with what you're saying that it's very easy to suddenly find yourself walking on eggshells, like or like putting eggshells out in front of yourself and being like, "Well, I don't want to piss that person off," and oh, what if people don't like this, and what if people like when you said earlier on that you sometimes record videos and don't post them. Is it then that you think it's what you're saying is too raw or too jarring for some people, maybe, or is it like that it's not as funny as you thought it was, or what caused you to pause? Do you think?
So there, great question, and there could be a number of things. It could be like timing wise. So, for example, right now, talking about guns in the United States is a big fucking thing, and I'm very pro Second Amendment. I'm also very pro gun control. I think there are a lot of improvements we can make with gun control in the United States for sure. But I also know, like right now, me posting about that would just be a fucking shitstorm just because we had a massive, devastating mass shooting in Uvalde, Texas. A couple days ago, we had another one in Utah last night. So I might post something.
You posted recently that you didn't you go shooting and you were kind of like reluctant to post it and then ended up posting it anyway and you were like, well, here it comes. Didn't I see something like that in your story like 3 or 4 months ago?
Oh, I went hunting. Yeah, I went
Yeah, that
hunting
was
for the
it. Yeah,
first time.
yeah,
I went hunting, yeah, and I was like, I don't know if I'm gonna post this. And I was like, you know what? Fuck it. Might as well. And it actually got a great response. There were some people who were mad, but it was really nice because I grew up in a very anti-gun, very anti-hunting household.
yeah.
And my whole life I just thought guns and hunting were bad inherently. And then I started to learn more about it and realized, oh, it's actually like there are many amazing things about this that I was never taught. And so by me posting about it, it got people asking the same questions that I had asked, and being more open-minded and understanding the importance and the history of it, but or the conservation of hunting for your own food and how it helps the environment. And actually it's a
Mm,
better life for the animal than, the prepackaged meat, that like the horrible life that they had and the horrible death that they had. And you don't even really mindfully think about the food that you're eating when you just get the prepackaged meat from the grocery store, versus I know exactly where it was, where it ate. I knew what it looked like. I literally saw it living and dying. And like, so I have a much more emotional connection to that animal and I can appreciate its life more. So having these opportunities and then giving people a chance to ask about it, I think is a really good way to, it's a really good way to be able to open your mind to experiences and thoughts that maybe you're not exposed to on social media.
mm,
One of the major issues that I see now on social media is people follow the people they agree with and unfollow the people they don't agree with.
mm,
And I really try and cultivate an opportunity to say, hey, here's something that maybe you don't agree with, and here's maybe something that I don't agree with. Let's have a conversation about it. And let's try and learn from each other. Let's have these difficult conversations, because that's where we grow. And then we also realize we're far more alike than we are different. And
yeah.
so much of the propaganda we're fed on social media is to make the other side seem bad and ignorant and like they're terrible people, when in reality the most of us are great people. We just maybe have slightly differing opinions based on what we've been brought up with and what we know. So we need
Mm.
to have conversations to help each other.
Yeah, there's a guy, I don't know if you've ever heard of him, Savan Matosian, and he used to do like all the documentaries for CrossFit, like the feature documentaries and stuff. But he has a podcast and he's like fucking divisive. So like there's a lot of people are just like, no, fuck him. And like just like as soon as he opens his mouth, they're like, no, and like just leave or exit or whatever. And he's on a shadow ban on Instagram, like you can't tag him in anything. And
Oh wow.
like, yeah, and he kind of it's funny because I messaged him recently and I was like, I think your shadow ban is over because your story just popped up on my feed and that hasn't happened in about 18 months. And he was like, no, it like comes back up for a while and then they're like, no, fuck him, he's still doing it, and then they hide it again. um but like he's like, I really like him, and I'd say I agree with 25% of what he says. Like I'd say I
I love
disagree with
that.
3 quarters of the stuff that he says. But even the 3 quarters of the stuff that he says that I think, oh fucking come on, man, I'm like still entertained by listening to. Like his delivery is brilliant, his metaphors are like ridiculous, his storytelling is really good. He starts telling his story and you're like, what the fuck is he talking about here? And then he brings it back to something, you're like, all right, okay. I mean, your point is so fucking stupid, but the story was good. Or like, or the opposite, like your story was shit, but your point is good, and it made me think about something. It made me think about how I parent my kids, or how other people parent their kids, or why I need to be more compassionate to other people or myself or whatever. And then like sometimes he might say something about racism and I'm like, no, that's just stupid. And then he might say something else about racism and I'd be like, fuck, I never actually thought of it that way. Or he might,
Mm.
say something about just anything and it makes you think. But yeah, I agree what you're saying. Like there is that echo chamber thing where people just say like, no, la 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 la, like no, I don't like, and it's like I'm right, and whatever you're saying is an attack on my beliefs. Like ergo, we cannot have a conversation about it. And
Correct.
I think yeah, if history has taught us anything, it's that that rarely ends well. Scenarios like that. Um, your journey then to where you are. So you're a fucking incredibly interesting man. Like the stuff that you've done. So you have world records in powerlifting. You've I'm definitely going to get this wrong because this was off the top of my head from memory. Is it jujitsu you do?
Yeah. Yep. Exactly.
Yes. Um, and you've done like exercise science and like you've got like degrees behind you. You've done work as PT, like nutritionist, and uh, when you were growing up, was sport a big thing in your house? Was fitness a big thing in your house, or is it something that you found when you were like in college or whatever?
In my house, nutrition, exercise, fitness was non-existent. It was everyone in my family is significantly overweight. They are not like everyone in my family is a teacher, professor, um, superintendent, a lawyer, doctor. Like everyone is an academic. I was terrible in school. I was in special education. I was awful in school. So it was like everyone in my family like didn't know how to handle me because I was the first one that was like stupid. Like I was terrible in school, got awful grades, had ADD, just like super, super, super bad in school, but I loved sports. So I was the ultimate black sheep in the family. I was like doing all the sports and all the fitness and all the activities. My mom, she even to this day, she laughs. She was like, when I would go to a birthday party as a young kid, before I knew about health and fitness, when I was like 6 years old, if there was cake at a birthday party and fruit, I would eat the fruit. I'd be like, nah, I don't want the cake. Like, and it wasn't because I was concerned about my body. It was just like, I just like the fruit better. And like, my mom was like, you're the only kid at the whole party that's eating fruit instead of cake. And that's just like, that's just, I don't know. That's just me. So and generally as humans we tend to gravitate towards the things we're good at and avoid the things that we suck at, which is a normal human behavior. What you're good at, you tend to enjoy, you like it because you're naturally gifted at it, and the things that you suck at, you tend to avoid because like you don't want to do something that hurts your ego and you're bad at. So I avoided school and I avoided academics and I went all in on fitness and sports. I was very lucky to be a good athlete. I was a very good wrestler. I wrestled from when I was 8 years old all the way to 18, made varsity as a freshman in high school. I was very good with that. I played soccer. I played baseball. I was just like, I loved sports and athletics. And as a result of that, fitness, nutrition, strength training, everything. So from 8 years old, I got obsessed with it. And then I got my first internship at a gym when I was 14. And that was it. From then on, I was like, I want to do this for life. And my mom was like, you shouldn't do that. Like, you should be a teacher, a lawyer, doctor, whatever, like the cliche Jewish mom, right? Like insert Jewish mom joke here. Like she was, and even to this day, regardless of everything I've done, she'll to this day, she'll say, it's never too late to go back to school.
like wildly successful at what you do, and it's like my friend Brenda's son, he's gone back.
Exactly. And she loves me more than anything, and she supports me, but you could always go back to school. You could still be a doctor, still be a lawyer, like whatever it is, which at this point I just laugh at. But so yeah, no one in my family was ever focused on health and fitness, and no one was athletic, or it was just all academic. So I was the only one, and from when I was 14, I knew I wanted to coach people, and that was it.
So when you say coach people, like most people, when they coach like, maybe their friends or like people that they find, I'm picturing those A4 sheets with the little pull off like number at the bottom. How the fuck did you end up working with Gary Vee?
Yeah, so that it actually starts, I'll say, in 2011 when I started my website. So I started writing articles in July of 2011 with my buddy from Waterford and I just hanging out together. And I'll tell you, his name is Tom Barry. And
Tom. No, I'm only kidding.
the first 2 weeks that we hung out, I couldn't understand a fucking word that he said. I was like, bro, you have to slow down, because when I tell you the first two, like I couldn't understand a word, not one at all. So after 2 weeks, and now I can understand totally fine, but like it took 2 weeks of like really hard concentrating to understand what the fuck he was saying. But
well,
anyway,
thanks Tom for macheting the ground so that I'm okay. It just like I could just talk normally then.
Anytime I speak with someone from Ireland now, like I went to Dublin. I actually did a presentation in Waterford once. Now I have no problem understanding the accent, but it was tough. I started writing articles in 2011, and the first year I got like 20 views a day on my website, 18 of which were my mom, and the other 2 were me. Like just
leaving comments
really,
saying you need to go back to college.
Exactly. Go back to school. Like, what are you doing? And so in 2012, I wrote an article. To this day, it's one of my least popular, least viewed, least liked articles ever written. It was about 3 ways to improve your posture if you work at a desk. Very few people saw it. Very few people liked it. There was one guy who commented on that article, and at that point, like, I replied to everybody who left a comment. I did that in Instagram in the early days as well. Now I can't do it; it's just physically impossible. But I used to reply to every single comment. And this random guy, I didn't know who he was. I didn't know anything about him. He just asked a question on the article, and so I replied to the question, and that was it. Long story short, that guy who replied to that question, he was an accountant in Chicago at that time. I had no interaction with him. I didn't know this guy until years later. He decided he was going to stop being an accountant and become a personal trainer. So he moved from Chicago to New York City. In New York City, he met Gary Vaynerchuk, and he became Gary's first personal trainer. He had a 2-year deal with Gary. At the end of that 2 years, Gary said, "Who's going to coach me now?" And the guy was like, "I think I know a guy." And I was that guy. He reached out to me. I was living in Israel at the time. And I didn't know that the guy reaching out to me was the same guy who commented on that article so many years earlier. I had no idea. I just knew that Gary's personal trainer was asking me if I wanted to be Gary's personal trainer. And I was like, okay. So I flew to New York, had an interview, all this stuff. Long story short, I got the job coaching Gary. And his first personal trainer, Mike Viconti, who's one of my best friends to this day. We own a business together. He's actually coming to visit in like 5 days. We wrote a book together, which is being released in a few days. Probably a year after I started coaching Gary, I asked him, I was like, "How did you find me anyway?" And he was like, "Oh man, I found you in like 2012, found one of your articles about posture, and I left a comment and you replied, and I followed you ever since." I was like, "That's fucking crazy." And that's like the ultimate Gary thesis, right? Where it's like, you never know which piece of content is going to change your life forever, and make sure you apply to as many people as possible, because you never know who you're talking to and what opportunity it's going to bring later in your life. And it was like, literally the shittiest article I've ever wrote. Like, no one likes this article. It wasn't a bad article, but just no one likes it. And very few people have ever seen it. And a random person commented and I replied. And that's what got me the job coaching Gary.
It's so cool. That's so cool. Yeah, because I'd say up until, like, I'm a fucking idiot when it comes to social media and stuff. Like, up until I'd say about 4 months ago, I had no idea who Gary was, like no clue. And then I interviewed someone who, and he just kept saying like Gary V, and I was like, "Who the fuck is Gary V?" And I was like smiling and nodding, being like, "Oh, Gary, yeah, of course, yeah, oh, genius." And then like
old Gary.
I was like, "Who is Gary V?" Like afterwards. But yeah, it's funny then, because once I like looked into it, I was like, "Oh, this is the guy who I always hear. It's always either him or Jordan Peterson that you hear the
Yes.
voiceover thing." But yeah, it's funny. Like that's something that I de facto did similar to what you did. Was like, I don't think I've ever not replied to a message or a comment. And again, I'm in a position where I can, because I have piss off followers, so it's easy. But like, it just seemed like the logical thing to do. So it's funny then that's what that led to. That's
Yeah, it's
amazing.
like one of my favorite quotes from Gary is like, imagine if you invited people over to your house for dinner, and then they sat down, and anytime they tried talking to you, you just ignored them. It's like, that's that's what you're doing if you make a post on Instagram and someone replies like, "Oh, this was a great post," and you don't say anything.
Yeah.
It's like you're literally just ignoring people you invited over for dinner.
Yeah, but it's funny as well where people like, there's a thing of, okay, it's very different for you, like, you know, or anyone over like 100,000 followers. Like, I get it. Like, you'd spend all day, every day, like replying to stuff and whatever, and I understand that. But like, I do find it funny when someone with an you know, an average amount of followers put something up or says something, and then people reply or send a message, whatever, and just nothing. And or maybe even just like they just like it and don't say anything back. And it's like, okay, I mean, liking it, I've me and one of my friends equate liking a message to like nodding and walking out of the room. You know, like if
Yes.
someone says
Yeah.
like, "Hey, I really like what you just did there," you're just like, and just close the door. It's just like, this conversation is over. Like, you know, if I'm liking this message and walking away, it's done. Or like patting someone on the back and then just leaving. Like, that's what a like
Yeah.
is. It's just like, yeah, cool.
100%.
And you just walk out. And
Or
it's
just
like,
replying with like an emoji. It's like, really?
yeah, I
Or,
just think writing a
replying with
message is
TY
like,
instead of saying thank you.
Yeah, like HBD, like happy birthday.
I hate that.
It's, I do that to my brother just to piss him off, but yeah, no, I do hate it too. But I think it's like for the amount of effort it takes to reply to a message versus the reward the person getting the message gets, if there's someone who's like a fan or a follower or supporter or whatever, like I've gotten messages and I reply to a message and I've often gotten a reply back being like, "Oh fuck, thanks a million for replying." And to me it was the logical thing to do, but when you see that reaction you're like, "Oh, that's why it's always good to do it." Um
100%.
you like I want to kind of delve into nutrition a bit. Like there's I kind of it's like I feel like I'm glossing over a lot of stuff like the powerlifting and like the jujitsu and stuff. Did you ever do CrossFit?
No, I never did CrossFit. I
Oh,
didn't.
you need
I,
to.
okay,
You need
I'll do a class. I'll jump in on a class. You like it?
to. Where did you say you're based?
I'm in Texas,
Where in Texas?
Dallas.
Oh, go to Big D that's in
Okay.
Dallas. I'm pretty sure that's Chase Ingram owns that. That's in Dallas.
Okay.
They actually have a competition. Oh fuck! I think I don't know when it is. It's coming up soon. Lone Star. That'd be good to watch. Like if you went to that, you'd be like, "Fuck, okay." Like I'm really getting a sense of what this is like. But yeah, go to Big D in Dallas. That's
Okay.
Chase Ingram is like a famous like OG of the sport, and he's a commentator, and you know he's a good guy as well. Like, yeah, that'd be God. I really hope you do that, and then tell me how you get on. That'd be cool. So nutrition. I wrote down diet and I crossed it out. I wrote down diet and I was like, no, don't call it that.
You
Um,
dude, you can call it diet. I have no issue with that word. I hate
I
when
think
people get
I
mad
do
about
though.
using that word.
Yeah, but I think I kind of have an issue with it because I think like, and I'm one of those like I know invariably during this conversation I'm going to end up saying like I a lot because I feel like a lot of the stuff that I go through, I feel like a lot of other people will also go through or will have gone through or might be like, oh fuck, I do that and I didn't realize. So forgive me for doing that consistently.
It's all good.
Um,
But
one of the
what's wrong with the
theories,
word diet?
because it implies that it's short term. It implies that it's like, and I think that up
Why
until
does it imply that
recently,
it's short term?
because of like, and this is actually something that I was just about to get into. I think that a lot of the problems with food and like say my relationship with food comes from like my parents, the 80s, uh like because I was born at the end of the 80s. My parents obviously lived through the 80s or whatever. So they went through that like fat is fucking terrible for you. And then
Yeah,
like
low fat
carbs are
craze.
fucking terrible for you. And then like
Yeah.
use this vibrating machine to lose weight fast. And then like slim fast like blew up massive. And then you had like like uni slim fast, those what do you call them? Like Weight Watchers, all those kind of like
Yeah.
clubs all started sprouting up. And like to me, that's diet. That's like,
But it's
and I know
not
if you go,
though.
I know if you go to a doctor and they say like, "Oh, what's your diet like?" They mean like what food you eat and stuff. But in my head, when I hear the word diet, I think 6-week transformation. Like that's what pops into my head, and I think
Right.
a lot of
So
that is
the
from my parents and like their relationship with food. And then obviously, like if you tell someone to picture a bin, they're going to picture their experience of a bin. Like some people will picture a wheelie bin, some people will picture the bin that's in their kitchen or whatever, but like very few bins will be the same because of their
correct.
experiences or whatever. And I think mine, and I think a lot of people, especially maybe I'm overstating, but I think especially in Ireland, it's a lot of it is a hangover from the 80s and like a kind of a like crash diet. This is bad for you and this is bad for you and this is bad for you, and then cut this out altogether and only have this thing, and then we're like, oh fuck, you're still eating that thing's bad for you now, and go back to the other thing you were supposed to be eating.
Right.
Like do you think that is that a common thread like globally maybe?
Oh yeah, it's huge. Absolutely massive here in the US. It's a global issue. My thing is, when has being scared of a word ever helped anyone? Like, you ever watch Harry Potter?
Mm,
Remember Hermione Granger? Fear of a name only increases fear of the thing itself. It's
mm,
like we're making people scared of the word diet, when in reality, when you look at the definition of diet, it just means what foods you eat on a habitual basis. It has nothing to do with weight loss. People will have a certain diet if they have allergies to something, right? People will go on a certain diet to gain weight. People
Mm.
have a certain diet based on their food intolerances. So it doesn't even necessarily even imply weight loss unless you put it there in your head. So telling people to be scared of the word diet actually does more harm than good, because now they're anytime, like I've seen people do like D asterisk ET instead of just spelling the fucking word diet. Like, are you stupid? Like, why are we scared to say this word? It's ridiculous. All it means is, what foods do you eat on a regular basis? The issue isn't with the word diet. The issue is with people saying some foods are good, some foods are bad. You can't eat carbs. You shouldn't eat fat. Like sugar is terrible for, like, that's the issue. The issue has nothing to do with the word diet or even what the word diet means. And by telling people we shouldn't say that word, we're actually increasing a fear and we're making it worse than it needs to be. It's like I'll tell you about my diet. My diet is usually X, Y, and Z. Doesn't mean I'm even trying to lose weight. Not to mention, there's nothing wrong with losing weight if someone needs to lose weight. It's like, it doesn't imply short term. It doesn't imply long term. It doesn't imply foods are good or bad. It just implies what foods you eat on a regular basis. That's it.
Mm. Do you think that, say, like that hangover that I'm talking about from the 80s and Slim Fast and all that kind of stuff, and then now we're in this kind of period of like this kind of like Netflix nation where it's like instant, like you push a button, you get what you want. You can skip ads, you can fast forward TV, you can record things and watch it back whenever you want. You can like you just it's instant, like consistent instant gratification wherever you are, whatever you want. It's literally at your fingertips. And then so you're kind of fighting against maybe misconceptions or predispositions or whatever that people have from growing up and weird relationships with food because of that. And then you have consistent temptation all around everywhere and instantly reachable, where it's like you can do, I don't know what the names of the companies are, like Uber Eats or Deliveroo or any of those kind of things. Wherever you are, you can just get food delivered, or you walk into any shop or any store, there's just wall to wall like shit everywhere. And then you also have that thing of like people are like, well, if I'm watching a football match, I don't have to watch the ads anymore. I can pause it and then just skip through, and I can flick matches like really easy. I don't have to get up and turn the button anymore. I can just watch like 500 channels at once if I want to. Why can't I lose weight in 6 days? Why does it have to be? Why does it have to be a habitual change over a prolonged period of time or a lifetime? Even why can't I just do it like by tomorrow? Is that possible? Like, do you feel like you're fighting against that too?
Yeah, absolutely. I'm fighting against that in my career and with my clients, but I also fight against it with myself not in terms of health and fitness. Like I know what I need to do for health and fitness, but I personally am, and I work on social media. So much of my life is on social media, and it's so easy for me to get sucked into not even just social media, but like you said, ordering from Uber Eats or as soon as a commercial comes on, I just pick up my phone. Like I'm never bored anymore.
Mm,
Like boredom doesn't exist. I remember being a kid and just like being bored and lying on the ground and making up games in my head, or like just playing with like the carpet while my mom was working on it, like being just bored. You know, when you're a kid and you're bored and you play because like what else can you do, and your imagination runs wild. Now we just have all screens in front of our face all the time, whether it's social media, whether it's TV. Like we don't have to go out to get our food. We can literally have our groceries ordered in, and like I do it all the time because it's way more convenient. That's essentially what we're paying for. We're paying for this convenience. But I think it is hurting us in many ways. I think it's hurting us in terms of our in-person interactions. I mean, I go out to dinner with my wife and I look at other tables, and both, like, you'll have a table full of 6 people and all 6 people have their face in their phone. They're not even talking to each other. They're interacting with other people who aren't with them right there. It's like, why are you out to dinner with these people? Because you're not even
they're
interacting
telling
with them.
everyone else how great the meal they're having is and how much fun it is.
Exactly. Oh, look at how great. And then like they'll like tell, oh, everyone say hi, and then they go back to their phone. Like they're not even talking. It's like yeah, there are many issues, and I'm definitely fighting against it in my industry, but I'm also fighting against it individually, like trying to figure out how can I get out of this vortex that we're in. It's crazy.
Yeah, it's funny as well. I heard there's a guy Matt Souza. I heard him talking about how he's because he's forcing himself not to use his phone as a crutch, like a social crutch, where if he's in an awkward situation, he'll just let it be an awkward situation and not like reach
Yes.
for his phone. Like he said recently, he was at a party and he like found himself reaching for his phone because the guy he was with went to the bathroom or something, and he's like, "No, fuck it, like, come on, like, just actually be the loner for 2 minutes and just see what
Yes.
happens." And he was like, "Oh, look, those two people are fighting," and like he started noticing all stuff around him that otherwise he would have just been like looking down, waiting till his friend come back, and then put his phone away, like, So yeah, it's something that I am shit at. Like, I'm so shit. I know I
Me
use
as
my phone
well.
as a social crutch. I know if I'm on a train, on a bus, on whatever, however infrequently that is nowadays. But like, I will take out my phone, or if I'm waiting in a queue in a shop, in a store, or whatever, I'll
Yeah.
take out my phone. Unless I'm with my kids, I try to be like better when I'm with them. And I know it pisses my wife off when I'm, like replying to some. She's like, "You'll talk to someone in fucking Australia, and you won't talk to me." Like, but yeah, yeah, you just you notice it and you try and get better, I guess. Um, with food then and nutrition and people like we've talked about, I suppose predisposition or pre-exposure or whatever to beliefs around food or relationships with food and stuff, and we've talked about people who want instant gratification and stuff. Where does it tend to fall down most commonly, do you think it is that people wait and put in the effort and then are like, oh fuck it, it's not working? Like, I got a few questions from people saying like, how do you break through that 3 week or 5 week period where you're doing well and you're adhering to everything you should be adhering to, and then you're like, oh, you just wake up one morning and you're like, fuck, I haven't tracked my macros in 3 days, or fuck, I haven't, I ate like shit yesterday and I didn't even realize I was doing it. Like, what do you think is the common pitfall there, and what do you think is the, I guess, common paper over it there to get to the next stage?
So there's a lot. I'd say number one is most people have way too high expectations of themselves. They try and be perfect. And they're like, all right, I'm gonna go to the gym 7 days a week and I'm gonna eat only good food. I'm not gonna have anything bad. And then as soon as they make one mistake on that plan, maybe they eat, I don't know, God forbid, have a fucking donut, whatever it is, maybe they miss a workout. Of course, like, you're trying to work out 7 days a week. How long do you think that's going to last? Like, you're not going to allow yourself to have any treats when it's your daughter's birthday party. You're not going to have a slice of pizza. You're not going to have a cookie. Like, what do you? So as soon as they make one mistake, then they think they ruined everything. And so they give up. It's like, well, why bother? Why would I bother trying if I already screwed everything up? Because they think missing that one workout screwed everything up. They think having that one cookie screwed everything up. And so what I always say, listen, no one ever got skinny from having one salad, just like no one ever got fat from having one donut. It's like progress is about consistency over time. So I think the most important job of a coach, more important than the actual program, is not letting your clients quit. That's really the most important thing. And the most important thing about the program is making sure that it's sustainable, that they can do it forever. That's the most important part, is that it's a sustainable program and that you don't let your clients quit. Now, obviously, you don't have 100% control of your clients. You can't force them to do something, but you can give them these messages and be there to reinforce this idea that just because they had one bad food, they didn't fuck anything up. The only way you fuck up is if you quit altogether. So for me, it's just about, hey, let's make sure that you're not quitting. Do this sustainably. You go on vacation, cool, enjoy it, have fun. When you come back, we're getting right back on track. But go on vacation, have fun, enjoy the weekend, whatever it is. Like, but let's get a few workouts in a week. Let's keep control. Let's like keep track of your calories for a little bit. See how much you're eating. Let's do the simple, basic things over and over and over and over and over again. It's very boring. It's very tedious. It's like, it's not exciting. It's just, it is what it is. But don't fucking quit. And if you don't quit, you're going to succeed.
And do you think is it your job or the client's job, or is it like what percentage would you put it at, say, for someone to, because obviously if you're surrounded by temptation all the time, you have to be able to say no. And sometimes, because if you don't say, I understand what you're saying about like, oh, you might need to have a pizza at an office party or whatever, and that kind of thing. But like, if you don't say no ever, you're fucked eventually, because it's like, well, Jordan
Correct.
said I'm allowed to say yes, and then it's like, oh wait, I've gained like 2 kilos. But like, who is it your job to give the client the tools or the belief in what they're doing that's required to make them consistently say, like, to say no consistently enough or to make better choices consistently enough? Or do you think that that job is kind of almost done for you by the fact that they've come to you in the first place?
It's definitely not done for you. It's definitely not done for you. Any coach who's coached for a little bit will know that. I saw an interesting quote. I think it was earlier today, actually, and I think it parlays really well into the coach-client relationship. Someone asked a married couple who'd been married for a long time. They said, "What's the best marriage advice you can give?" And the woman gave, I think, an amazing piece of advice that carries over into coach-client. She said, "A lot of people think marriage is 50-50. Each one gives 50%." She's like, "It's not. It's 100%, 100%. Because if you get it, inherently, if you try and do 50-50, one of you is going to give 60-40, da, 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 and then you're going to resent the other one. And like it doesn't work out well. You both need to give 100%. And you rely on yourself to give your 100%, and the other person gives their 100%. And it has to be 100% for both. And that's what I think for coach-client relationships. They have to give 100% of their effort as the client, and you have to give 100% of your effort as the coach. Just as the coach, a lot of coaches will say, "Well, my job is to give you the program. I'm not here to motivate you." It's like, you're a fucking idiot if that's what you think. Like, I'll never forget. I mean, I bet everybody has 1, 2, maybe 3 teachers from high school, college, whatever, that they can remember that were their favorite teachers. You probably remember their names, right? You haven't seen them for 20, 30 years, whatever, but you remember their names. You remember what they did. It wasn't just because they taught you. Any teacher can teach you. They can come up with a lesson plan. It's probably because of the extra stuff they did outside of their job description. Maybe they made you laugh. They brought in snacks. They met you early before class. They stayed in late after to help you. They went the extra mile because even though it wasn't part of their job description, they knew it would help you be a better student if they went above and beyond. So if you just want to be another coach who can just check off the box and say, "I gave you your program, you're done," cool. You probably shouldn't be a coach in the first place. But if you want to be the coach that is like, "Hey, I'm going to go the extra mile," like, you're not just giving them the program. You're going to be the coach that tries to motivate them, helps them stay consistent. You're going to go above and beyond. And that's going to make you the coach that this 85-year-old person tells their grandkids about one day. The coach that changed my life was this person, is because you're the coach that actually went above and beyond. So it's 100% for both.
With willpower, then obviously is the ability to say no or to make those better choices and not to just slip into the subconscious of, well, I've always done this and like it's a learned habit or whatever. Is that willpower built through noticing improvements and being like, oh shit, this is working? Or is it built through uh I guess what you're talking about there, the kind of boring like monotony of doing the same thing over and over again eventually leads to that it becomes subconscious as opposed to the poor choices that you were making?
I think willpower and confidence go hand in hand. I think a lot of people who struggle with willpower don't actually believe that they can succeed. They're not confident in their ability to succeed. And so oftentimes their urges will get the better of them because they don't think it's going to work anyway. So why would they bother saying no to this, their third slice of cake, when it's like, well, I've already screwed up anyway. I'm not going to succeed, so I might as well have it, because like they're so down on themselves. So when I can get someone confident enough to believe that they can succeed, we're going to start to see their willpower increasing, because now all of a sudden it's worth it to say no to that situation. It's worth it to say, you know what? I don't need that extra slice of pizza. I don't need to eat the whole thing. I don't need all of this, because I'm confident in my ability to actually succeed. So I think willpower and confidence go hand in hand with each other. And the more we can increase a client's confidence, the higher their willpower is going to go. But the lower their confidence, the lower their willpower is going to be. And we see this across populations, across different disciplines, not just in fitness. But if we look at the level of someone's confidence, and we can say people with a higher level of confidence, and the scientific term for this confidence is self-efficacy. They're similar, not the same thing. But when we look at people's self-efficacy, their belief in their ability to succeed, they are far more likely to actually succeed if they have a high level of confidence, versus if someone has a low level of confidence, then of course they're far less likely to succeed. Why would they have self-control? Why would they have any discipline or willpower if they don't believe they're going to succeed anyway? Like, there's a lot more trial and effort that goes into it if you have more willpower. So building up their confidence is paramount so that their willpower can increase.
Um, So I'll rattle through some listener questions because I know we're kind of heading towards time here. Um, so creatine came up. Should people be taking creatine?
It depends on the person. I know right now it's huge in the fitness industry. Everyone and their mother is talking about how important creatine it is. And listen, here's the deal: creatine is beneficial for sure, especially if you want to improve maximal strength and force production. It's really good, but it's not just for that. There's a lot of neuroprotective benefits coming out, showing there's a lot of cognitive benefits for it as well. But the question remains is how beneficial, like what percentage increase are you going to, like how beneficial is it actually going to be? And with all of the different things we can be taking, I would say creatine is one of the very few supplements that I actually do fully stand behind. But I mean, I don't think it's that essential, and it's not like it's changing your entire life, you know. So that's what's important for me to get across. Generally speaking, it's very affordable, it's very low cost. Creatine monohydrate is not very, very expensive, so it can't really hurt. But don't take it and expect to be like Superman or Superwoman. It's just it might have some benefits, and if you're looking to eke out a couple of percentages difference, go for it. Amazing, but don't feel like you're missing out and like you would have been an Olympic athlete if you had just started taking creatine earlier, because that's not the case.
Oh fuck! I can take that off my list of excuses then. Um, okay. The Someone asked about the benefit of a coach over things like macro factor and stuff like that, but I think we've kind of really covered that with the
Yeah.
like you've gone through that there. Okay. I think this will be common enough. Someone who's like carb phobic. And has learned that it's bad for you, that carbs are bad for you. They're trying to break out of it, but obviously you're going against all the things that you thought were true. So it's a difficult road to do. And they're wondering about tips to kind of introduce it and to like bed it into their habits. Is like, are you looking for quick, easy things like say like fruit and stuff, or are you trying to like how do you start off with someone like that? Like what way do you
Yeah,
introduce
with
it?
it's funny. I actually don't do a progressive slow introduction. I just like the way that I do it. It's sort of like with me with hunting. I was told my whole life hunting is bad. Hunting is bad. You shouldn't hunt. Guns are bad. You shouldn't use guns. They're like all that stuff. It's like the only way there wasn't a slow introduction. It's like, you know what? Fuck it. Like I'm going to go hunting. Like I'm going to learn about this for myself. So, and that changed my entire perspective. Like hanging out with hunters, hearing them talk about hunting, learning about it, studying it, going out and doing it myself. It was like the only way I could learn is by actually doing it. So my answer to the people who are like very carb phobic is like, go eat some fucking carbs. Just go eat them. Like, I don't know. You want a sandwich with real bread on it instead of using the lettuce as your fake fucking bread? Just go eat a fucking sandwich and you'll see you didn't get fat. Like you didn't get fat. Track your calories, make sure your calories are hit, eat some fucking carbs. Do it. Do it for 30 days. Like 30 days. I'm going to eat more carbs. I'm going to hit my calories and eat more carbs. You will find that you're not gaining weight because you're hitting your calories. So my answer is I'm not going to slowly introduce you. Okay, we're going to have some watermelon. We're going to like, no, just eat fucking carbs and hit your calories and do it and prove it to yourself.
Mhm.
Worst comes to worst comes to worst, you can go back to what you were doing before.
Yeah.
That's the literal
I,
worst case scenario.
I'd be confident once they taste carbs.
Yeah. Exactly.
Yeah. Okay. A good few questions came in about like evenings and like coming home from work, and that's your time where you're tired. And again, it's that learned habit of, well, usually when I watch TV, I have X, Y, or Z. What are some of is there like a good way? Because I found when I was uh having a shit time with, I was like tracking my macros and stuff, putting in loads of effort, but nothing was happening. And I realized that my effort was just basically misplaced. And what I was doing was I was like hoarding carbs until the evening. And I was like, right, I won't have, because I'll want my bowl of cereal or whatever at night, because that will stop me having other stuff. But then I also found that, like you always see that meme of like people who measure out their peanut butter and then lick the spoon, like that kind of
Yeah.
thing of like,
Yeah.
it's
Yeah.
just
Yeah.
pointless. I was like that with carbs where I'd be like pouring it in and I'd be like, that's a very measly amount of cereal or whatever. I just like give it another shunt. Is there in evening times, is that kind of the willpower thing that you're talking about and the confidence thing that you're talking about, where you basically just have to adhere to what your long-term goal is, and it's that thing of like, do I want what I want now more than what I want long term, and you have to pick.
Yeah, I mean, well, for example, last night I ate 1.5 giant bags of Cheetos. Like after dinner, like I got my workouts in, like I was good, but I was like, fuck it. And I was like, I just want some Cheetos. So I ate way too many Cheetos. Now, at this point in my life, I'm not trying to lose weight. Like I'm not in a fat loss phase or anything like that. I'm like, I'm just enjoying. So like that's fine. But if I decide that I want to lose body fat, like, hey, like I need to lose a few pounds because like I'm getting a little bit bigger, then you better fucking believe I'm not going to be doing that, because like I've decided this is my goal. This is what I'm going to do. If I decide for my business that I want to get more clients or whatever it is, you better fucking believe I'm going to be posting 3 times a day on Instagram. I'm going to be doing all this. I'm going to be going hard because that's my fucking goal. So if your goal is, hey, I need to lose weight, I'm not saying you can't eat Cheetos, but don't have a bag and a half like I just did, because it's a probably really bad idea and you're going to go way over your I went over my calories in Cheetos yesterday. Never mind everything else that I ate. It was like, so if I decide I want to lose fat, then I'm not going to be doing that anymore. Like I'll have an appropriate amount. I'm not going to eat it like an asshole like I did yesterday. I ate Cheetos like an asshole, but that's fine because I don't have a fat loss goal right now. But if I eventually do, then I'm going to have to stay consistent. So figure out what your goal is and then do what the fuck you say you're going to do.
Bag and a half of Cheetos. Cheetos are like cheese flavored, aren't they?
Yeah, they're so good.
Yeah, cheese flavored crisps. Just I don't know. There's something weird about.
You don't like it? Oh man, they're
No,
so
see, they're
it's like my
not. They are
favorite.
not a big thing here at all. Like we have cheese and onion flavor.
Oh, that's good. I like that flavor as well.
Yeah, we have that's cheese and onion and like salt and vinegar, and then like then they
I like
then they
salt and
brought out
vinegar
all these
too.
notiony kind of like red chili and whatever the fuck, and like they brought out all these random shit. Then, yeah. Listen, we'll finish with a quick fire. So these are all either or. So walk or run,
Walk,
bike or row,
bike,
squat or deadlift,
deadlift,
dumbbell or barbell.
dumbbell,
Um, the same food for a month or the same movement for a month.
movement.
Yeah, I figured to say that. Well, listen, thank you. Thanks to a lot of people. Thanks for Michael Dalton putting me in my realm of consciousness, and thanks for Tom Barry for breaking the mold and allowing you to understand Irish people, and thanks to you for coming on, and yeah, your team for setting it up and everything. It's been great getting to talk to you, and I'll send you CrossFit Big D's location, and you can go and let me know what you think.
I love that. Yeah, thank you, man. I appreciate it. This has been great. You're a fantastic host.
Oh, thank you. I appreciate that.